Good afternoon, good morning to our West Coast friends. You are at the Capitol Film Market Sunday, April 10th, the final day of the weekend film market. We talked about so much yesterday, and just some quick housekeeping again for anybody comes in. I think everybody's here, and I mentioned how it works as far as if you have a question. We're going to try to keep to the live world as much as possible, in so much as we're going to have a couple of topics. We're going to discuss it, and towards the end, um, we'll leave it open for Q&A, and it's wide open within the film industry umbrella. Hopefully, specifically where you can take advantage and utilize these gentlemen with their depth of knowledge and their earned scars. So yesterday, we were all over the map in a good way. We covered a lot of ground. So not want to force circular peg into square hole. We're here for 2 hours, but there's no need to try to really what is that Lord of the Rings thing? Spread the butter too thin on the bread. So we'll keep it organic as possible. If we go half an hour, if we go an hour and a half, we're just going to go with that. So we aren't going to be bound or be beholden to any restrictions. We're just going to keep it flowing. If it ends early, fantastic. If it goes a little over, great. Um, if the gentlemen have time, I think, yeah, Valerie, because you're new, if you look on your left, the left of your screen, you'll see that we have two breakout rooms. You can have, just like in the live world, you can have side conversation if you're in Santa Monica at AFM or EFM, what have you. And obviously, if these gentlemen are available, you can have side meetings. You can have side meetings within yourselves with any of the other attendees. The space is open. If not the film market proper with NovaFest, there is another conference area called Fame Forum. We are open 24/7. If you're in official selection, you have access. You've been accepted to the NoFest. You have access to a 24/7. Doesn't obviously if it should be film related, but it doesn't have to be connected with the NovaFest at all. You can have your own little get-togethers, negotiate, collaborate, do all kinds of cool things, film. So anyway, long-windedly, I'm gonna wrap up and have each. Just go left to right. On my screen, Marc is on the left. We'll go left to right. Please introduce yourselves again and who you represent, what you do, and anything else you'd like to contribute, and then we'll get rolling.
Okay. Morning, everybody again. Marc Clebanoff. My company is Odyssey Motion Pictures. We've been a production company since 2004 and a global sales agent since 2011. We have a presence at 3 to 4 international markets a year. I am also a partner of a newer company, a finance entity called CCM Creative Capital Management LLC. We're on track to do 3 to 5 movies a year right now. We're actually just gearing up to go into production on our second of at least 3 this year. And that's about it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm Phil Gorn, Wonderphil Entertainment. Have a sales company. And what I didn't say yesterday was anybody who has a completed film or project, I'll take a look at it. That's what we do. We're looking at completed stuff. We're not looking at scripts, sorry to say, or we're really not looking at shorts, but I'll look at it. But I mentioned yesterday, I've tried a few shorts and liked them and thought it's worth a try, and sometimes that's what I do with feature films or feature docs. I like them even if I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do with them or how, but the shorts, I haven't figured out how to give them away, and but I'll still, if somebody wants to send something out, I'll happily take a look. But we're looking at completed projects And that's what we do.
Fantastic. Maybe even start that as a catalyst, talk about shorts, because I made a statement earlier in this week. It's not necessarily bold, but it's pretty rough. But quick notes, just I like one of the names in your new company, Capital, Marc. And also, if my math is right, that puts you at almost 20 years in the business. Just in a couple of years,
Okay.
you're crossing the threshold. No,
Oh, I think I've crossed that threshold.
well, you said was it 2000?
Well, that's when I started Odyssey, was in 2004, but I've been
Been
I
making
was
things a few years longer than that. Yeah.
yeah. I had a poor attempt at a first company that did a little bit, not much, but yeah, Odyssey was my own venture, and then I took on my partner around 2010. My partner Lewis.
Okay. Well, yeah, just a quick couple superficial notes that were just fun to talk about for a moment. But again, we're going to keep it freewheeling. Again, we were very comprehensive yesterday, so I have a couple other topics to maybe potentially elaborate upon. But I'm going to ride that quick coattail that you put out there, Phil, in so much as shorts. I made a comment earlier this week at a Q&A to some new filmmakers. Just I didn't want to slam the door on them, but I definitely wanted them to be aware that there was really hasn't been a solid, and that's being generous, commercial side to producing shorts, even really good ones. Is that still the case? And even and this was just a foreshadowing later. Is there a future in it? Do you see anything that will change that?
For me, I used to, the business is always changing, right? And used to have to make films that were 90 minutes. I mean, I would do my little no budget things, and we'd shoot for a couple of weeks, and sometimes they weren't 90 minutes, and they'd be or I'd represent somebody's film that was 70 minutes or 72, and some buyers would just say that's just not a possibility. We're looking for at least 90 minutes, and then but then sometimes even I remember doing this no budget 70, I think it was 72-minute feature, and getting some major deals for it. and also some of the stuff that I've done, it hasn't totaled 90 minutes, and we definitely make our money back so that we could go make the next thing. And now with the with all this VOD and all these different platforms, and sometimes it can be shorter, and excuse me, it's just finished. It's only 10 o'clock over here, so I just finished my Sunday pancakes. So and one cup of coffee, Fernando. That's all I've had. So
you got to roll when it's
yeah,
ride or die, man. It's time to go.
So the lengths are shifting, and even like we touched on yesterday, like the series, and I haven't been able to, like, I haven't quite figured out how to sell a series as it is, like a web series, but I'm trying to put them together as give the buyers an option as a feature, and just kind of string them together, even if it doesn't completely make sense because they're not built for that. But at least the buyer can see that you have 90 or 100 or 120 minutes of a what we call a feature. So as far as the shorts, I've always wanted to like put similar theme shorts together, and and put a title on it, like romance or what, and make a poster and do some type of trailer, and just put all the promotional materials together. And it's been a thought for years, and it's really time consuming, and it's really hard to find.
I tried to sell anthologies before. They're challenging. Very challenging.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's so much work, and then you have all different filmmakers that you're working with in one project, and it's easy to I haven't figured out how to do it, but it's so.
The problem is if they don't have some kind of continuity in the oversight or from the producer or something, if they all come from different places, they end up lacking continuity, even if they have some kind of thematic connection.
Right.
And yeah, it's definitely tough to do. I think there's two reasons to make a short, either as a proof of concept as a filmmaker or proof of concept for a project. But that can backfire on you too if you're not careful.
We touched on it yesterday, Mark, as far as is that still in place, having, because it just, it messes with your spine as a creative, where work on a swivel. Well, you wrote it as a feature or you wrote it as a short, but maybe someone's interested in it as a series, or the other way around. You wrote it as a series, but right now, whether it's one of you two or another agency, we're just looking for this at the moment. This is what's trending in the market.
Yeah, I mean,
You're basically repurpose your content.
You're not gonna look. You're not really gonna generate money with a short. That shouldn't be the motivation to go make a short, because those avenues just don't exist. I mean, there's ways to monetize shorts. Phil confirmed that too, but the money is negligible. And like I said, when people do a trailer or a short as a concept for a bigger project or a feature, it's good, but I also often see trailers and proofs of concepts that are not done very well. So they end up kind of having the opposite effect in terms of making an impression. So if you're going to do a proof of concept or a trailer, I say it's a good thing, but it better be really good, because it's going to be the visual marketing tool to convince somebody to invest in a much bigger proposition.
Yeah. And you have the difficulty of doing a proof of concept or a trailer for a film that's not cast and not budgeted. And so how do so whoever you cast in this trailer or this teaser is not actually probably even in the movie. So it's really like, I kind of stopped doing the pre-sales because I just haven't done it for a few years, but I used to be able to do it. And the best teaser was just like a minute teaser. And so you're not going 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It's just a minute, and it's just getting a glimpse, and you get a feel for the film and what the genre is, and that the producer or the director or the filmmaker knows what they're doing as far as the pacing in the trailer, the production value, what they're shooting on, the acting level, even though it's not really your actors. But it's like, I've had a lot of buyers, a few years ago, who would just see a 1 minute teaser and say, yes, sign me up. And knowing that this actually doesn't have anything to do with anything, because it's not going to be in the movie. They hadn't cast yet.
If I recollect, there was another nuance to it as well. Yeah. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What was that?
Well, just keep it short. Don't try to,
yes,
do a 10-minute opening or something, which, I've made that mistake too. It just got kind of carried away doing a teaser, and it's like, I just shot like a tenth of my movie in one day. And it's like, I missed the original idea of shooting just get your shots and just get your shot list for your teaser. And that I think it could still work. I just kind of I just haven't had the same luck that I've had with pre-sales these last years. Everybody's just like, send it to me when it's finished, and we'll look at it then. Yeah.
And if I recollect correctly, there is also the nuance of your proof of concept, trailer, teaser, or what have you, to film, preferably film a scene, or a very impactful scene, opposed to like a full out trailer that makes it look like a completed film already.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible for me, like the scene hasn't really worked, because you could do a scene. I mean, that's definitely possible. And it's also, especially if you're doing like the stuff that I've pre-sold has been more action things. So it's just action, thriller type stuff. And you want to create the vibe, and in one scene it's a little tough. But if you're doing a romantic comedy, a proof of concept might be kind of cool, because just get the that's a little different. I guess it could depend on the genre that you're doing, and nothing, whatever. I mean, whatever you want to do. Like whatever works. It's like whatever we say here is not exactly like, it's like do whatever you want and do whatever's right for your project, and every project's different, and every budget's different, every idea is different. So go with what you know, and do whatever just shoot it.
Two-part question then. Are names willing to come out for concept pieces? And fast forward again from last year, with everything going on, are they as accessible, more accessible, a little less accessible as they have been for the past couple of years of coming on projects?
I mean,
Yeah, well, if you're referring to names as like a generality, it's
Generality.
case by case basis. It's very often relationship driven. And I mean, I can get names to come do shorts because I have those relationships, but that doesn't mean like anyone can just pick up the phone and do it.
I mean, you better. Yeah, I mean,
You want to work on good shit. Like that's what it comes down to,
yeah. I mean, again, it's on you. I mean, there's no blueprint. I mean, how much you want to spend on it, and like, I mean, are you gonna? For me, if I was getting a name, I'm sorry, I'm shooting. I'm like, if I'm doing all that work, I'm shooting. I'm just going some extra days. I'm shooting the feature. I'm shooting whatever the project is. It's a tough call. It's really like you want to do it right. You want to do your proof of concept right, and at the same time, for me, it's like you do it right. You're spending a lot of money on a proof of concept, and in the end, you have a proof of concept. You have like, which is no proof at all. It's like
visual aids are always good because it makes it seem real, So especially in a pitching environment, having a proof of concept is great. But like I said, you got to be sure that proof of concept is top notch, because I've seen a lot of proof of concepts that are like, you're trying to like sell a movie and this looks amateur hour, So like I said, I encourage people to do it, but just like make sure you're doing it at a level that complements the film you're going to make, as opposed to something that just looks like, like you clearly had no money and whatever. Like the proof of concept has to show off and personify your skill level.
Let's take it a step back to the basics, because we have a mixture of people who show up and throughout the festival even and have questions, and for me it's easy to forget that some of them are a little more cagier and are veterans, but then some are just really talented novices. So some of the lingo and terminology, because it's easy enough for us to just throw AVOD out there and people to think they know the lingo and the acronyms. So something as simple as, and I'll throw two concepts out there. One, some of it is, it's common sense, but define what a name is. Whether it's an example of a particular star celebrity, what qualifies as a name, and that goes in. I know that can be multi-layered as far as they've been around 20, 30 years, or they're brand new. They're on the CW. They're a third character on a popular TV show, or no one's ever heard of them, though they've
Fernando
been around.
If you could get Fernando, you're good.
Well, you have that's
I'll give you a
you'll have to
couple.
talk to my agent.
I'll give you a couple general rules of thumb for assessing whether or not somebody has at least a moderate level of inherent
Something
value.
to gauge, something for everybody to gauge.
If someone's a household name, if somebody at some point in their career has played an iconic role, those two things always bring an inherent value. I'll tell you one of the biggest rules of thumb when it comes to casting: if you have to explain to people who the actor is, assume they do not bring value to your project.
Yeah.
And also be careful of TV names, because just because somebody's on a show here doesn't mean that show has hit yet in other parts of the world. So unless it's something big like, Breaking Bad or Friends or one of these like globally renowned shows, it doesn't necessarily pack the punch outside the US. And on that same note, even if you're casting somebody off one of those shows, it has to be a principal, not somebody who played, 2 episodes. Yeah. So, but when it comes to the movie names, they're either a household name or they've played an iconic role at some point in their career.
I mean, when I was living in LA, You know, I was walking across the street and I'm at a stoplight, and there's somebody next to me who's waiting for the light to turn green. And I turned to him and I said, you know, how's the script? And they just start talking like the whole, I couldn't get rid of them after that. And it's the same thing. Like, just if you're at a stoplight and you're waiting for the light to turn green, you turn to the person and say, have you heard of this person? And if you know, if they say yes, then you know you got somebody. If you say, oh, you know, you look them up on IMDb, you know, he's been in this and that, and it's like been, you know, and then you know that's not your name.
Well, let me throw a name at you, because and we were getting into the, you know, the weeds or the nuances of it. Joe Pesci, because I can't remember if they came up in this conversation or just somewhere in my own travels. Obviously an icon, a talented, so on and so forth. But then I forgot who said it, that, you know, what's he done lately? You know,
Well, I had a project with him attached, and yeah, you
how'd
know,
that go?
as exciting as it was to have him, he ultimately did not bring distribution value.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Because because he was more or less retired, hadn't done anything in a long time, and at the end of the day, a guy's like in his mid 70s, like he doesn't resonate with younger audiences today, and like it's silly. He should have value, but also when I say value, like if you put him in a $500,000 movie, then yeah, you can build it around him, no problem. The problem is he costs $1 million, so you're not going to get him in that little movie. So you're only going to potentially have a shot at getting him in a big movie, but he doesn't drive the value to carry a big movie, at least not by himself.
Okay. I just want to, you know, dig a little, you know, dive a little deeper as far as,
I mean,
I'll get a big name. You know?
He's not a good example because he's
he's a mediocre example. That's why I want to put him out. He's kind of mediocre.
She's great. I mean, well, anyway, it's like, I mean, the fact that you said a name and everyone on the planet knows who you're talking about, that's
a household name.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let me throw
or if you're working within a genre, somebody who's important to the genre too.
Right.
You know, like there's names that are genre specific for horror. And like I just did a movie with Michael Jai White. Like in the action world, everybody loves Michael Jai White. So like he's not like a huge mainstream household name, but people who know action know who he is.
Yeah.
You know,
I did this, I just, a few years ago, I was just a director on this project that was a family film, and I wasn't involved in some of the casting, and some of the casting was like good actors, but like they'd never been in a family film, and it didn't like resonate on it, you know, really. So,
yeah, I saw a romantic comedy that a friend of mine scored, and like the most well-known actor in it was the guy from Saw. It was such a weird misfire. He was good in it, but like, yeah, it's like casting Van Damme in a comedy, you know?
You know, I like the idea of like, you know, casting somebody, you know, cast somebody who's like kind of meek, put him as the mafia leader. That's kind of cool, but it might not work.
Let me throw a curveball at you old folks. With again, with the multiple trends going on right now, would a YouTuber, influencer, TikTok person be in are they piercing the industry in that realm
all the time?
Oh, good. Please. I'd love to learn. I hope
it comes to influencers and people with, you know, Instagram celebrities and stuff like that. They're value adds, but you cannot build around them. They cannot star in your film. The reason is first of all, their followers are used to watching them in these short little clips and whatever. They don't want to watch them be in a feature. They have a tough time actually monetizing their following because they put out so much like short form content to their people. Those are good people to have support because they can potentially bring eyeballs. But when people tell me they're going to build a movie around an influencer, I'm like, good luck. It's not going to work.
I mean, is there a way to, again, because they
like
are
somebody
new.
Who's famous on TikTok, their fans are used to watching them do 2 to 3 minute clips.
Right, but is there a way that you can use them as an asset? And, you know, do a quick shout out, or I'm going to the movies to watch this incredible film. Is that worth its weight in gold? Because all of a sudden your name just got shot out to 2 million people that never heard of you. But again, there's that bridge to monetizing that.
Yeah, no, I mean that definitely in our Last Girl Lost movie, we had we got some music from this really famous female hip hop star. I can't remember the girl's name, but she's got this massive following, and you know, she tags the movie and or retweets it or whatever, and like, yeah, that brings eyeballs. So like that's great. That's a value add, but it's like icing on the cake. It's not the cake. But I see a lot of proposals lately from indie filmmakers who want to build a movie around somebody because they have, you know, 5 million Instagram followers, and in their mind that equates to like dollars and cents. And the reality is it doesn't really work like that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I realize I'm shooting the wind, but like again, that one shout out by an influencer, then do 1% of 1% of our followers go on YouTube and click it.
It's good for promotion, but like I said, I wouldn't try to build and bank on that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, again, it's like, what's your budget? What are you going for? And in the end, you're making art, right? So maybe the influencer is actually like a really good actor. So maybe they,
Sure.
yeah, maybe they'll really help the project, as opposed to like, okay, is this person worth, these amount of pennies, or, like hopefully you're making art, and hopefully you're doing stuff that's right for the project.
Okay. Well, that's touching on the future. Let's go back, not necessarily to the past.
I think it was Cora had some questions. I don't know where the questions disappear to. They pop up and then disappear.
No, if you click the weird bubble,
okay.
We're gonna save it for later, but
okay, got it.
Yeah, so we have a record of them to go back to. But in terms of the flow, where I put it out there is like the future with TikTok, YouTubers, influencers. Let's bring it back home. For US sales agents, are the standards still there in terms of coming to you with sophisticated key art, a Bible? Are those still in place? How much value do you place on that when and if somebody approaches you?
You mean
they have a project, not completed, Phil, but
yeah, I
mean, visual aids are always helpful.
Yeah, I mean, completed or not completed, there's only a few things to have, so they better be pretty tight. You have your poster, you have your trailer, you have your feature, like whether they're completed or not. It's like, what else is there? So I've opened Photoshop before, so I'm going to make the poster. It's like, you might want to get a professional in there doing the poster, not just
Yeah, it's the same like proof of concept. If it's done really poorly, that's going to work against you. It's almost better to have nothing than to have something that's done poorly. So,
but like in terms of just like a checklist, an Excel spreadsheet, what needs to be brought in front of you to let you know that these guys are serious, they're polished, even if they're new, they're rough, whatever. These guys did their due diligence.
Well, hang on. In terms of proposing to us as what? I mean, as sales agents, we're primarily looking at finished films.
Right. But even as a producer,
producers, that's a different story. But
let's go with the producer route for the moment. If they wanted to bring you on board, they did their homework. They looked you guys up. You do films that are similar to what they are, what their scripts or what have you, what they're working on right now, and what makes them legit.
Yeah, one thing I would say, because I get a lot of solicitations from people, and there's, as you put it so eloquently yesterday, most people are just spraying and praying. It's very rare that somebody comes to me with a proposal for something and I can tell that they've actually really done their homework on who I am and what I do. Because I only make specific types of films. I only work in a certain budget range, and I get proposals from people who are like, come be a part of my project, which usually is just, Greek for help me raise money. Most people don't want a producer. Most people just want money. But so that's the first thing. Like, aside from what are you going to present, make sure you're targeting the right people. Same thing when you have a finished film. If you're just sending that out to anyone and everyone, you're kind of just like banking on being lucky that it's going to land with the right place or people. You really have to do your due diligence and be targeted about who you solicit to, whether it's a script, a finished film, whatever, because there's right fits and there's wrong fits for everything. And I feel like there's kind of this lack of awareness of people are like, oh, Lionsgate, big company, I'm going to send my film there. It's like, well, maybe you don't have a film that makes sense for Lionsgate. Maybe your film actually makes way more sense for a small boutique domestic distributor. But that's the benefit of working with people like Phil or myself, or people who understand distribution. Whether the film's made or not is, we're able to kind of like guide you in the right direction of what makes sense and what doesn't, what's realistic and what's not. Follow me?
Would you, is Marc full of it, or is that about right on your end, Phil?
I mean, I don't know. It's so wide open that it could go so many different directions with that question. But I mean,
which is the point?
I mean, obviously, yeah. I mean, you want to sound to whoever you're talking to, whatever you're doing, whatever you're presenting. Of course, you want to sound. I mean, if you're unsure of what you're saying, anybody who knows is going to know that you're unsure of what you're saying. If you're just throwing out, I have a $3 million script, or I'm shooting a film for $3 to $5 million, but I'm like, all right, what if I gave you 2 million? It's just don't just throw stuff out and because it sounds good or you think it sounds good, and just really know what you're saying or doing, and again, there's not that much to, nobody wants to look at a Bible like, hey, send me 400 pages, I'll look at it today, like nobody has that time, and so at least, I'm not looking at Bibles or scripts anyway, unfortunately. I would love to just sit and read scripts all day, but
you make a good point though, Phil, about like what people should put in front of you.
Yeah.
I mean, I get people who will send me a link to their film, like no rapport, no nothing, just out of the blue. Like, here's a link to my film. I'm looking for a sales agent. It's like, this person doesn't respect my time. Send me a synopsis, send me a trailer, send me key art, send me something to like get me excited to want to spend an hour and a half of my day watching your film.
Yeah. And on the other side of it, yeah, we're talking about feature films, and we're talking about somebody who's spent, at least a year, a bare minimum of year on this project, and they're sending off to companies and sometimes signing with companies. I'm like, just Google them. Just do something. You'll just do a little research on some companies, and maybe if you just, instead of just like going with the first person that says yes, or or if you look them up and see what hits. It's like, oh my God, it's
Okay, yeah, do your homework.
Yeah. There's a few, I wouldn't name them, but in a public forum, but like there's a few distributors that every single time I get involved on the foreign end with a film that went through one of several distributors, I always get the filmmaker coming back to me with their tail between their legs saying like, help me get out of this. And I'm like, how do you not like talk to other people and like do your homework on who you're dealing with, like Phil said.
Yeah,
you don't have to dig very deep.
Comes up lawsuit. Maybe you don't want to sign with them.
Yeah. Or just talk to other people. Oh, you never saw a dime?
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't work with this company, or the sales agent or whoever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even for me, I've represented, I take on films. Sometimes I get shut out, and, I try with a certain genre, and it's like, hey, if you have that genre and you check with filmmakers of that genre that I've represented, and they're like, yeah, he's cool, but he didn't sell it. Like, well, maybe go with somebody who's like, they sold it. Like, they took that genre and they sold it. But anyway, even every romantic comedy is different, or every project is different. It's like,
Okay.
but I've certainly been shut out. You ask, 10 of the producers that I represented, a few of them are going to say, well, he's cool, but it's like, he didn't sell it.
I'm gonna make a call in the sense that I'm gonna throw out one more concept. It's gonna be kind of broad, and then after that, open it up to more of the audience. So yeah, I'm gonna make that call. Um, Throw this out there. Again, I know this is gonna be a very widespread. We discussed again somewhere in our lengthy conversation yesterday about where the industry is now, nuances, trends, what's still basic, and what's new to the moment, which might change in 2-3 months. Um, let's make this next and final topic prognostication. Uh, with everything going on and knowing, whether it's a gas price or a Delta Omicron or something that's going to shake up the cultures, what do you see happening 12 months, let alone 6 months from now? Is it possible, or it's even just the mentality, just you have to work on a harder swivel than you would pre-pandemic?
Was there a question in there?
Yeah, prognostications of where the industry is going to go in any direction. It's pretty broad.
My religion. No, I sorry, Fernando. I'm a little lost, but
I mean, I'll share with you like some of the trends and stuff that I'm hearing.
Yeah, basically, like
If you're talking about like where is it going distribution wise, like
again,
I said
full
yesterday,
spread. In sense of like, okay, I have a project, and I'm gonna raise money. I'm going after names. I'm gonna shoot because again, we touched on it. You did, Marc. We're gonna shoot in this area opposed to that area. This area is dried up. This place is robust. This is a great bastion of potential investors, just because of wherever the world is right now. What makes 2022 special and unique in so much as it may or may not be around even in 2023. Where can we capitalize on the state of everything the industry right now? What's going on?
you
Too
could have
broad
just
still?
very simply said, talk to us about the industry.
Well,
I
do
just
you
have
not enjoy the sound of my voice?
for you, man. Just one question. I will switch it up. I mean, what is life, man?
To bring meaning.
All right. Well, cool. All right.
That's meaning of life. That's it, really. Not to be happy. Happy is fleeting.
Yeah. Make a good film in whatever way you can. Yeah. That's the trend.
Yeah, I think the middle class of filmmaking is getting wiped out. I think you're either making micro budget movies or you're making big theatrical movies. The middle is becoming a big black hole. AVOD is, meaning ad-based video on demand, is emerging as the mainstay for the future. But it's also very volume driven, which means it's all about getting as many movies constantly cycling through as possible, which means, if you want to have longevity in the business, you need to keep making movies. And as a result, like, not to say it, you need to create like an assembly line or anything, but, make movies as cost efficiently and as quickly as possible, because things do change so quickly.
Yeah. And that's been the case. I mean, Eric touched on it. I think Marc might have touched on it like yesterday. Eric's like, I don't even do international sales anymore. And
Right.
Yeah, I'm winding down.
yeah, I mean, I'm out there. I mean, before the pandemic, I went to all the markets. I mean, I went to in 2019. I went to the Miami market, Mumbai, Hong Kong, Cannes. By April, that was April. By April of 2019, I went to Singapore and AFM and Johannesburg. I was all over the planet. How much it paid off?
Capital Film Market, by the way, but go ahead.
2019. No, I was in Cannes in 2019 during your market. If I did it, I was in Cannes.
It's fuzzy at this point.
Yeah, I think
I'm just shameless plug, but that's what I'm saying. Just trends like that, and so much as are you, are the traditional market's gone. I mean, I'm not even going to ask Marc about AFM because
it's certain.
I might get injured in that.
Oh, yeah.
I might get hurt.
For you.
I see you woke up. Sorry, Phil.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying. It's like we're steadily adjusting. the pandemic obviously like threw a wrench, but it was an interesting timing for the pandemic, because I was like, okay, I spent a lot of money in 2019 traveling, and I'm like, okay, was that worth it at the end of the year? And then the pandemic hit anyway, and I'm like, all right, well, I can't even, that answered that question, whether it's worth it to spend the year on the road. I couldn't do it anyway, and internationally, I was like, was that worth it anyway? So I'm still trying international. It's certainly slower, and which is, strange in a way, because everybody's staying home, everybody's watching movies, it's all anybody talks about, and everybody's watching everything. But Marc touched on it yesterday. It's like, there's so much product out there, and the big companies are, we're trying to get something to Netflix, but Netflix just bought, X amount of films from a major. It's like, I got one film from a minor, like, oh, it's tough, man.
Yeah, like weirdly, like I have a direct relationship with Netflix, but I don't sell direct to them. I sell to them on the rare occasions I sell to them. I sell through somebody else who has a master licensing agreement. So in principle, he can get bigger, broader deals than I'm able to. So like I got a movie on there right now it wasn't a worldwide deal, but it was a lot more territories than just North America. Whereas if I had tried to do that deal myself, it probably would have just been North America. So like, even though I have the relationship, like Phil's talking about, me coming at them with one film versus somebody who has what's more or less an output with them is a whole different thing. So yeah, it's getting tougher. I'm not completely abandoning the foreign effort. I'm just trying to focus more on my own films. Because frankly, it's getting harder to satisfy producers, and every time I take on a new film, I'm taking on a new producer that I have to answer to. And as I like to joke, everybody thinks they made The Godfather. Everybody has, tunnel vision and expectations that are usually, not entirely aligned with what's realistic. We try to manage expectations right up front, but, everybody has huge expectations for their film. So it's getting tougher and tougher because people's expectations aren't getting less with how the market's narrowing.
Yeah.
So it's becoming a little less sustainable.
I don't think the quality has diminished. I think the
Agreed, yeah.
The quantity, it's been tougher and tougher. With the pandemic, it definitely has slowed down in the filmmaking, and that lull of filmmaking we're still seeing. Because it takes a while for it to come into effect. So, the quality's not gone down, but the quantity certainly.
Okay.
But it takes something like really obvious and special to land in my lap for me to take on a new film at this point. And the reason is, again, not that I'm abandoning it, but I've never been a volume-driven sales agent. I've always really tried to focus on quality over quantity. I think Phil's the same way. We don't have catalogs with like 400 titles in them like some guys. And it's getting a lot harder to be the quality over quantity sales agent.
Okay. Well, fine. It looks like we're having some questions. So final follow-up to that, just that theme in general. Again, this is just sort of like shooting in the wind, but when things begin to open up again, do you see a resurgence of the way it used to be, or has
things
landscape
are open.
totally changed?
Things are as open as they're going to be. I'd say there's more filmmaking going on right now than there was pre-pandemic.
Wow. Okay.
So I don't see anything, and for the last 6 months or so, nothing's been closed. People are shooting like.
Oh, well, I meant in terms of like the markets and that doing the champagne dinners in Cannes, because part of me is hearing you, Phil, and going, trying to be on the sidelines and going, I'm not going to weep that, I've got to go to France and Asia this year. I understand it's work and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I don't know if it's ever going to go back to normal. I'm hoping, I was hoping that the pandemic would be the nail in the coffin for the AFM because it it as an event.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not unfortunately. I mean, what's going to end up happening is I think virtual markets are going to be a mainstay. And only a few markets, live markets, are going to sustain. And the only reason they will, like Berlin and Cannes, is because they have a giant film festival attached to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything that's just
novel idea,
I think is going to be hard pressed to sustain, even if COVID went away tomorrow. I think people's ways of doing things have just completely changed, and we've now evolved and become accustomed to doing everything on Zoom. Like 2 years ago, I never did anything. I wouldn't think of doing a Zoom meeting. Now I have like 3 Zoom meetings a day.
Yeah, and I wasn't saying it was painful going to Asia. And
yeah.
it was,
I was going to cry for you.
Financial side, it's like, is it worth it to? Yeah,
it's tough. Like we go to Cannes, we're in the south of France, but like we're sitting in an exhibition hall most of the time.
Torture, man.
Maxing out credit cards to be there. Like it's not. Yeah, it's fun, but when you get to your like 7th, 8th year in a row, it's like it's work. I mean, and it's a big cost of doing business.
Going to these parties, it's like caviar. Like, all right, cool, caviar.
Yeah, hanging out with all the
you're going to better parties than I go. I'm like sitting at a table at a hotel next to a movie star, watching him go to a cool party.
It's still kind of cool. Not gonna lie. All right. Well, we'll open it up early because people seem to be itching to ask questions. And I see that Sabrina followed directions. She's at the questionnaire that would, I'm just having fun with that. But we can start with a Sabrina question, and please let it fly. These gentlemen are here to help. So Sabrina, go ahead, but make sure you turn off or turn on your mics, so we can get all of you. So please, Sabrina, what do you have for them?
Okay, thank you. I have a question. If for the panel, like if I wrote and produced an hour episodic by myself, by who do I send it to, and like what would I do next to get into that room that you guys were talking about, like with Netflix or HBO or whoever to take a look at it? And when you're saying, like when they say show me the whole thing, does that mean just the pilot, or would that be like all 8 episodes or something? Like what could you go into more detail about that?
I'm going through it right now with one of my shows. I mean, in terms of like getting in the room, unless you have an agent to set that up, like my partner and I did, or otherwise you would do it through a sales agent who has the relationships in television. But from everything I've been hearing, everybody from Netflix to whoever, most people want to see 6 to 8 episodes of something complete, which is a big risk to go and do that on spec. I'm currently trying to negotiate an 8-episode season on a pilot that I did with Peacock, but even that's been a giant tail chase to an extent. It's weird. Like films, I feel like there's kind of a clear pathway. Not that like every time is successful, but like with a film, I know exactly how to put it together, how to sell it. The pathway is clear. With TV, it's so relationship driven. It's crazy. And even if you get a streamer or network in the mix, like this was explained to me too, because on my show Stripped, which like I said, we did a pilot for, and we had HBO Max, Peacock, Netflix, and CBS all come to the table interested in the show. Netflix basically said, we want to see 6 to 8 finished episodes before we'll even tell you what our ballpark is. But Netflix was very unappealing to me for an array of reasons. And then with CBS, the only reason CBS looked at it was because my showrunner had a first right of refusal agreement with them. So he had to put it in front of them. But he basically said, if an actual network picks this up, they're going to pay you more money than you've ever seen in your life to go away. And they're going to do it how they want to do it. However, selling a show to a streamer, you're more likely to stay in control creatively, but you're going to be very restricted in terms of budget, because it's so volume driven now, the idea is you do the first season as inexpensively as possible. And then if it hits, then they give you a real budget. A good example of that would be the Karate Kid show, Cobra Kai. They did that on like an excruciatingly low budget the first season. It landed, became hugely popular, and then Netflix acquired it and put real money into it. But when they first did that show, it was like micro budget.
Yeah.
So in terms of like, who do you show it to, or do you already have something produced, or you have a proof of concept? Like, what are you working with?
I do not have something produced yet, but I'm planning on it. I was just wondering, like, how do I? You talked about an agent just now. Like, how would I find that agent who could get my pilot looked at?
Yeah, I don't know. We have a packaging agent. When I say we, my partner and I, but we've been in a long time. My partner's a well-known actor, so like we've just had representation at our disposal. Not to say it's always worked in our favor, but during the pandemic, we actually got lined up on one of our shows with some pretty significant meetings. But those meetings that was the first time I was ever in pitch meetings with like big studio executives. We did one with Paramount, one with Sony, and one with Netflix. And it was daunting. It was really daunting.
Yeah. I would just say go for it. Go for whatever you can do. It's just like every aspect of this business is a profession, and go for whatever. But like I started the sales side of my company, and the sales side was like, okay, originally it's like, okay, well, I'm going to produce, I'm going to still write, I'm going to produce, I'm going to edit, I'm going to make my own films, I'm going to represent other people's films. And the filmmaking, the creative side just dropped because it's like sales took all the time. So it's like I see some producers with their completed films, they're like, oh, I'm just going to self-distribute, and then they never make another film. And it's like you only have so much time, so go for what what you think is best for your project and what you want to do, or what you have your ideas to do. Just be careful, because you may get sucked into a profession that you didn't think that you lost your.
Yeah, trust me, I didn't set out to be a sales agent either.
Yeah, it's like, it took me like a year before I was like, oh, wait a minute, I'm a sales agent. Oh, I'm not a filmmaker whatever. I'm like, no, I'm just a sales agent.
Yeah.
Filmmaking.
But look, if you're talking about a series, I mean, we have 5 different series concepts that we're pushing right now, but 2 of them that we've actually produced pilots for, but like we put money together and did pilots on spec. So there's a fair bit of just like taking the leap and taking the risk too. So that's just something that has to be considered. So when I'm talking about, like, I have the one show that's kind of got Peacock circling that we're trying to work out for a season. And then the other one that our packaging agent was able to set up the pitches for, both of those were produced pilots. So we actually had something, pretty high quality to actually show and get people's interest. I think it's far tougher to get, a network or a streamer or somebody to the table based on just like a concept or a show pitch or a Bible, unless there's somebody very well known attached to it, either behind or in front of the camera. So depending on your situation and whatever your scope is, and if you're able to do it economically, I would try to figure out a way to produce a pilot or a proof of concept.
Okay, thank you so much. That was very informative. Thank you.
I mean, you try to help her out further. Is there any kind of re-engineering in terms of looking at similar films that are within, some of the metrics are similar as far as the genre or the scope, the demographic, and they go on the IMDb and they I guess you'd call it a cold call, but find these producers, and it's a bit of spray and spray, but is that worth it?
Well, I don't know. Some producers are religious to a certain type of concept. I have, I distributed and produced these Girl Lost movies, which were very successful. And so I get a lot of people hitting me up with like, sex trafficking and human trafficking projects. I'm like, well, I've already done that. I don't want to do more of it. So that could work for you or against you, I think.
Okay, because you also mentioned, I believe it was with Lisa yesterday, in terms of just going to spaces, areas, forums where you network and you just, I mean, there's not a science to it, but there's a magic to it.
Yeah, well, she was asking about like, how do you hustle a script, because it's not easy to get an agent. And even if you do get an agent, there's no like guarantee of any kind of success there. And my advice was just go to events and network with filmmakers, because if you get, a motivated director or producer, if you develop a relationship with a motivated filmmaker who loves your script, they're going to do a lot of the legwork for you and try to get your movie made. So, yeah, I mean, whether you're an actor, a director, a producer, whatever you are in the business, a writer, it's all a numbers game. Trying to raise money, you just got to meet as many people as you can.
Okay. Thank you for your question, Sabrina. Dan, you are on deck and locked and loaded. Please fire away.
All right. Thanks again for having me, Fernando and Marc and
Absolutely.
Phil. We have a film that's called Healthy Hope, and it's about a muscadine grape, which is grown in the southeastern United States, that has cancer curing properties.
Wait, sorry, did you say a grape?
A grape, yes.
Okay.
It's natively grown. It's called muscadine or scuppernong, some people call it, but it's got it's extremely powerful components in it that they've extracted, and they're now using in trials. They've got phase 3 trials going on for breast cancer and for prostate cancer, and basically any kind of cancer that's been thrown at it, they're showing that it kills it as part of its thing. It also inhibits metastases. So if you've got so the audience to this, when we first saw it, we decided would be anyone who's been touched by cancer, whether you had it yourself or your family member.
Wait. Are you talking about a documentary or like a narrative feature?
It's a documentary. It's a documentary.
Okay.
Sorry, it's a documentary. It's about 55 minutes long. So we have like 5 universities: Wake Forest University, NC State, Johns Hopkins, Morgan State University up in Maryland, and also we have Howard University. So there's 6 doctors from 5 universities talking about it. 55 minutes long. We've also worked with vineyards here in North Carolina when we filmed it, and they've got our vineyards alone that we just had in North Carolina have about 350,000 followers. So is that something? So where it touches people with cancer, and then we have readily in the whole Southeast, I can tell you that all the vineyards growing it, we've probably got about 150 vineyards that have anywhere from 500,000 to 1 million followers. Is that something that's bankable to go, when we're trying to sell this to people and say, here's our audience. We know these people buy it.
Did you already produce this?
Yeah, it's in the film festival. We just got accepted to our 3rd one, which
basically
is
you're asking. So basically your question is, what do you do with it?
Right. We could go and put this online, and those vineyards and the producers, the winemakers who actually make some of the stuff. Now, I'm not saying that if you drink a glass of their wine every day, it's going to have the cancer benefits as the extract, but they figure there's going to be a halo effect from it. They're like, if I grow this stuff and it's being sold, and like I said, it's been tested, and we have the documentation out there for proof of it. That's, do we take it to somebody to market it? I know somebody at the high end Discovery who we talked to before, and they were interested in it.
Dan, so, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean this to sound rude or anything, but like, how did you go about producing a documentary and not have a plan for what to do with it? Why are you doing it after the fact?
Because we originally started this as a way to help them find more research money. When we first saw it, we went to meet with Dr. Patricia Gallagher, who's been running it. She got a $20 million grant to research this, anonymous grant. And they've gone through this testing, and now she's like, our funds are running out. And so we said, well, we said it was so touching, the information that she was giving and the other people who have been working on it. We wanted to get out and work with them to make sure that this message got out in front of people's eyes, because it's a natural product. Now, a lot of stuff in cancer, like the yew plant, is actually something that they use to fight cancer, and it's a natural product. But there's not a lot of investment that goes on in the United States in natural Once it's big pharma usually which has it. So I do have, like I said, there's a lot of connections that we have out there. So we started this project, and it was really something for us to do during COVID when we were doing some work with them. So we started, like you said, the Zoom meetings, and then became to like, hey, I think we got more on this. And then we started showing it around to people, and they said, you need to put this together and edit it into documentary. Now, our advice was told to just do it under an hour because they didn't want it. But I've also heard that longer documentaries are more palpable for sale.
Yeah.
So,
What do you think, Phil?
It's on the website, right? It's on.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'll look at it this week and get back to you.
Well, it's
Yeah,
the documentaries in the festival as well, so you have access to that
I'll
anytime.
look at it this week and get back to you by
Yeah.
Friday or before.
That'd be great. Like I said, we're both of us. I mean, we're not from a movie background. I mean, I used to run IT for a company, for a large insurance company. My wife was a regulatory compliance manager for a large banking and insurance companies, and we just went to this. And we've always had a passion for travel and for filming, and we've been working with the grape industry up and down to the East Coast. We both quit our careers in corporate world and decided, let's do something that's fun. If we're going to work 16 hours a day, we might as well do something that we love to do. And it was helping promote wineries and craft breweries. And that's why somebody told us, they're like, well, you work with wine, you should go to see this muscadine. And it's like, it's usually pretty sweet, and it's not our thing. But we're like, oh, let's go. And then when we heard it, everyone's been touched by cancer, it seems like, and when you start seeing these people who are researching it, and they're going to do this because their mother or father died from it, or it was just very moving and very very touching. So anyway,
Okay. Well, I mean, you're obviously, just be careful. Well, too late. You're very intimately invested into it, obviously. So just keep in mind that, again, what we stress here all the time at the CFM and Nova is just don't forget about the business side. That's why we have this portion.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question. I said, to me, it's like so much effort goes into making a project like that. I've produced a documentary before. It was years of my life. And, to me, it's like, well, what was the discussion amongst your team about what the end game was?
The team is my wife and myself.
Right.
So
Right.
I mean, literally, we did the film.
So in your mind, where did you ultimately want it to end up?
Well, we thought it would be ending up, and we did this. We got a small grant of $15,000 from the North Carolina Department of Agriculture to help tell the story because they know about the grape. That was it. The rest of it was time that we had, that we did nights and weekends and working with them and travel on our own. So we have, and then when it came together as a movie and people started seeing it, they're like, you need to take this further. So that's kind of how it progressed.
Well, look, it's also like this past week, I was actually trying to look at films on the festival website, but I had a lot of other submissions that are submissions, so the people are asking me to view. And when I went on the website, I'm like, I started to view, and I'm like, well, I don't actually know that they're even looking for representation. And so if there's anybody out there that has the film that they want me to see on the website, or just sending me a link, let me know. I mean, I can't just go on Fernando's site and look at every film on there and say, oh, these few are interesting, and then I contact them and like, well, we're not interested. We already have somebody, or we don't. So yeah, if you want me to look at something, just let me know. But I already know to look for Health Hope this week. So
all right, thank you so much, because I mean, we love the feedback and find out anything that you've got. And like I said, I think we got some strong markets that would be interested in it. Yeah.
Being a little presumptuous, I think what easily what Marc was alluding to is that have a plan, have your end game, work backwards, opposed to like, hey, we got this cool thing, and again, it's touching us intimately. I don't want to gloss over that, but really have a strong A to B scenario. There will be detours, obviously, but like, okay, we definitely want to get it into libraries. We want to get it into this festival, that festival. We want to sell it because that's going to educate yourself, and knowing some of the the parameters that were discussed here. You're not going to sell a 47-minute or an hour and 15 documentary. What is the market right now for what you do? There, you aren't necessarily setting any precedents or being a pioneer, maybe in the exact details of your doc, but in terms of a documentary that covers the genre, not genres, but the details of cancer and medical research, the utilization of universities, as you mentioned, know thyself and then know what's out there. And again, have a plan. And part of your plan can be talking to these guys or someone similar, or finding an agent that's more specific to that world.
Make the best project you can. I mean, make the best product you can, but something as important as length of your project. I mean, if it ends up being if you thought you were making a feature and it's like, oh, the best thing I have is a 4-minute doc. It's like, well, but it is what it is. But that's pretty important. I mean, I'm all into artistic and doing the best thing, but the length is pretty important, and to know what you're, shooting for is pretty important.
I mean, I hate to admit, Marc said something last year or the year before. It's a very tough business, and one of the best things you can do is stack the deck. Find out all the ingredients that have made other people successful, again, within the scope of your own production or project. And just that's education. That's every possible move that has been successful before in your particular world, if it applies. Just keep adding it up and adding it up, opposed to because you're coming, because I know you're new. We've had prior discussions, and so it's understandable. But now it's really time to roll up your sleeves and get a little dirty. Do your homework. Find out what your goal is. Obviously detours along the way, but this is where we're going, and discover. You maybe don't know where your place is yet, but that's your first job, kind of thing. That makes sense. It's really a lot of common sense going on, but it ain't easy.
Yeah. So there's my email if anybody wants to email me. That's
obviously they introduce their companies. You can contact us here, and we'll be a middleman for that moment, just so you guys can connect. So that's always going to be in place. Okay, we have Dan back. You have the comms, sir, for any questions you'd like to.
Thank you. Marc and Phil, you guys were both saying that advertised-based video on demand is the future, as far as you can see. It seems like what's happening is that there's so much product that's like being put on the back shelf at Walmart. You may have exactly what I need in toothpaste or something, but how do I find it? And so my question is how do you rise above the white noise of so much product out there, so that you're actually driving people to your film?
Ooh, if I knew the answer to that.
That's the right question, then.
You got to make a film that people talk about. Yeah. And we have films in the distributor circles that we talk about, because some things just tend to break out, and then everyone's like, well, what was it about that? But you never know. It's tough, because it's true. White noise is the perfect way to describe it, because there is so much. But like this, that Girl Lost movie I mentioned, which I'll expedite the story, but it's a great story that I like to tell, because it's like what's possible, and I think what everybody's aiming at. But I had this little indie non-union drama about, this movie was about a aging prostitute grooming her 15-year-old daughter to take her place. It did not have a happy ending. It had no known actors. It was made for under $100,000, female writer and director, and it was one of the most profound indie films I'd seen in like 10 years. And I told the filmmaker, I'm like, this is going to be a really slow burn, but I want to try to sell this film. And I spent a year trying to sell this film. Nobody would touch this movie. I couldn't even get most people to watch it. And the ones who did watch it said this is amazing, but they were basically like, we're scared of it. Everything about this movie on paper was what distributors don't like. Finally, after a year, I was about to give up. I called a little boutique domestic distributor I knew. I said, please just like pay her a $5,000 minimum guarantee. Worst case, you'll break even. I said, just release this movie for me. When he released this movie in May of 2018, it went viral. It was one of the top trending movies on pretty much every streaming platform for months. And we made enough money off of it that we produced a sequel.
Wow.
It just came out in 2020. And now the fans want us to do a third one, and we're trying to repurpose it as a series. But like tiny movies, no well-known actors. And these things just like they were lightning in a bottle, and they stood out. And everything about them on paper is what should have been the opposite. In fact, once we announced we were making a sequel off the success of the first one, foreign buyers started buying it too. I had only sold it in Taiwan. That was the only place I had sold the first movie. And then when we announced we were doing a second one off the success of the first one, we sold Germany, we sold Poland, we sold Korea, we sold Latin America. I don't know. We sold like 5 or 6 foreign territories all of a sudden.
Yeah. I mean, it's timing is important. I mean, a friend of mine just got on Lifetime. His movie just premiered on Lifetime last Friday, Friday before last. And it's timing. They're looking for that, Lifetime is needing to fill a slot for that particular, theme, and danger in the neighborhood or something. And so, it gets on Lifetime, it's gonna make other sales. I mean, it doesn't get on Lifetime, it can do some small sales and internationally and domestically, but it gets on Lifetime, and I've had films on Lifetime that are 10 years old, and they're still making money, and they're still making international sales. So timing. I mean, there's just so many factors to why it can work.
Just one quick follow up. Names, I guess, obviously help, but does the genre help?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say, like I said, this Girl Lost movie, these are like dramas about sex trafficking. They're typically the hardest genre to sell. That one happened to break out. But like, if you want to just like play it safe and keep making movies, like you're always going to have less of an uphill battle making an action movie from a distribution and sales perspective. I mean, making an action movie or a horror movie or a faith-based movie or a rom-com or so, like a genre movie.
But you better like that genre.
Yeah. Yeah, like I like making little genre movies. Like I love making action movies, so like it's, people are like, well, do you do it just for the commerce? I'm like, well, yes, it's the most globally in demand and easiest type of film to sell, but I also really enjoy the genre. It's fun.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Yep.
And again, because I know there are a couple of first-time filmmakers down there, can't stress enough, and this is old news for you two, obviously, but these productions, that you will be married to them for minimum 8 years, if not easily longer. This is just going to be part of your life. So, Brian, what you said, Phil, you better like it, because you will be married to it, whether you like it or not, for quite some time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one of my first films, I just made it. I was just like looking for something to edit, and I was like, instead of like, this was a while ago, and it's like, instead of like getting somebody else's project to edit, I'm just gonna go shoot something and I'll edit it, and that I'm still like doing things with that project, and it's just you'll be working on that thing a long time.
I mean, I do my best not to bring myself in the conversation, but yeah, just because recently I mentioned that Eric, who was with us yesterday, he is my sales agent all of a sudden for over 10 years. I don't know how that happened, but I just found out, I found my movie on one of the YouTube channels that he placed it on. This was a school project that I took a year off, then just because I went to AFM and I found out that films have to be 90 minutes or 82 minutes with a wink and a nod, get that credit roll going for a while. Long and short, I totally stumbled upon it, and it has almost 250,000 views.
Yeah.
And this was a school project. This was that was overly ambitious.
Yeah.
So, and all that, not to brag about any version of success, but it's still absolutely a part of your life. I don't want to make it too grandiose. So again, we have long now been in the Q&A portion. Valerie or Cora or Spencer, I know you had questions earlier. Would you?
Valerie, don't I know you through Dobson?
I'm bringing you on to the.
You, right? Can't hear.
Just pretend, get your
Yes.
click on your mic.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I
You
thought I
did.
did. Yeah. How you doing?
Good. How are you? And I
I'm
know
good,
your
thanks.
partner too, obviously,
Oh, you know Louis?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm pretty
Um,
sure we've met, but I'm
Yeah.
well aware of you.
And
Uh-huh.
before you even get started, Valerie, just because because we're in a formal environment, everybody's listening. There's no reason. It's totally part of everything you've already acquired. But new maybe for you, Valerie, if you look on your left, we have 2 breakout rooms. So, and I think I mentioned to you in an email that after the forum ends in 20 minutes, half an hour or so, what have you, you're more than welcome. If any of these gentlemen have time and are available, you can jump in there, and you
Okay.
can, it's like being at AFM or Berlin or whatever. You find a side restaurant or cafe or a corner of the hotel lobby, whatever, and then you can have your own conversations, professional, pseudo art, pseudo just hanging out, having drinks kind of situation. Again, it's just and just the cool aspect of it is we are virtual. So as I mentioned, all of these, while we're open 24/7. So there's no, big brother looking or anything like that. And as far as the film market and NovaFest, we don't have our fingers in unless you want us to for whatever reason, but you can set up your own meetings in there with and network with other people. Again, 24/7, just it's a Zoom call at the end of the day, but it's kind of hopefully a little bit more enriching environment. So please, you had some questions.
Yeah. I have a family I have a family weed comedy. It's won script awards at a couple festivals, and best comedy awards, and it's at a $2.5 million range. And I
Wait. Did you say a family weed as in cannabis movie?
Yes.
Maybe you're talking to the right guy.
No.
Not because, sorry, I have to jump in, not because he is a big weed header.
I gotta-
You invested. I don't know if I even want that out there, Mark. Sorry.
Yeah,
That's okay. I don't smoke weed.
I know you. Okay.
Yeah, this was triggered off my I have 3 kids, and my third one was smoking weed like there's no tomorrow, and I've never smoked weed. But it came to my mind while I was trying to get him to school every morning that what would happen if I turned the tables on him and I started smoking weed, and what would happen.
You'd probably have a really great relationship with him.
Yeah, but it's a comedy. A mom who turns a table on him that has never done it, and it's what happens to her, but how it ends up bringing the family together at the end. Because the young boy has to either go down with the ship or rise, or be a man and grow up and take responsibility.
Right.
And I've gotten a lot of great feedback on it. I have actors that want to be part of it, but it's at a point right now that I'm looking for a home for it.
So if Cora's listening, she's going to laugh. But my question is, what makes the movie $2.5 million?
What makes it? Well, actually, it was just, just to pay cast. I would shoot in LA if I wasn't going to shoot in Atlanta or someplace like that to get the tax credit.
Yeah.
It could be less, but like
Yeah,
I know.
that's kind of what I touched on before. Like, why throw out a number? And everybody says I got a tax credit. I was like, okay, yeah, you got a tax credit, and you got, but yeah, why throw out that number if it's just random? I mean,
Well, it had been budgeted, but it had been budgeted at a different, you look at it at a different rate. You wonder, well, like, you know, to get a better actor, to pay more for your cast.
Mhm.
It can be made for less. Definitely can be made for less.
I'm going to say this. Well, I'm going to refer to it in this way. I mean, you can try to position it all you want as a family movie, but if it's a cannabis movie, it's not a family movie.
Yeah.
Even though it may have those conventions to it, it's still going to be embraced by the market as a stoner movie.
Yeah. Okay.
I've seen a lot of those float around the market. Phil might have better intel than me. I got to be honest, I don't know how in demand or not in demand those types of movies are. Comedies are kind of hit or miss depending on the subgenre, and cannabis movies are definitely a subgenre. I don't know, if you were going to make a movie like that, my advice would be, yeah, you definitely need some cast to drive value, or do it micro budget.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, internationally, it's tough, honestly, internationally, but, maybe hopefully you make all your money domestically, because a lot of international companies are not interested in stoner, are not interested in any kind of drugs, or they just hear that and they're totally turned off. And a lot of international companies aren't interested in comedy. So you got the drugs and the comedy, and it's gonna. So internationally, you got two strikes against it, but that kind of
domestically it could be big. I mean, there's been some big stoner movies over the years. Russell Peters made one, Ice Cube, Chappelle, like they've all made them, and they've all done well with them.
Well, yeah, this is kind of like Bad Moms. You know how Bad Moms has that feel. It's lighter. It's not, she gets punished in some ways for doing what she's doing. So it's
I wouldn't make the cannabis component of it like necessarily the driving. Or look, I haven't read it, so I don't know, but yeah, the more you can make it not a stoner movie, even if that is part of the story, I think the better.
Yeah. Well,
from a distribution perspective.
Right. That's what I want to do. Obviously, I'm not, I kind of towed the line between the two, but it's more about how, every time she does something happens to her. You know what I mean? She goes with her girlfriends to a speed dating, and she gets out of control and they kick her out. Just all these things happen to her. So
yeah, because if you watch any of these, like what's the guy who does all the movies with Seth Rogen and like Judd Apatow movies, there's usually like marijuana stuff laced into those movies, but it's not like they're not considered stoner movies. So the more you can do that type of approach, I think the better.
Okay.
To make it more mainstream and not put it in that box of it being a stoner movie.
Right. Okay.
And I wish Eric was here. I believe, if memory serves, he did have one film. It was like a sci-fi stoner movie or something along those lines. So maybe he has.
Yeah, I've had a few fall into my lap, and I've never picked one up because I just don't feel confident enough in trying to sell one. But at every AFM, some stoner movies walk through the door.
I know I could get Anne Heche to play the lead. I've gotten every single actor to, because casting.
You need a lot more than Anne Heche, though.
Yeah, and I have Janine Garofalo to play one of the girls.
Yeah, she's good.
And I had the guy that is the. I have. I can cast it. That's why I ended up making it 2.5. So.
Yeah. You're a casting director as well as a manager, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Stole my thunder, Marc. I was going to try to exploit you, Valerie, which is a good word, right, in the business, and get your name out there.
Manages one of my buddies.
130 movies later.
It's a lot of movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, do you mind me volunteering you out there as far as it may be more some lucrative network out there? This is Valerie. She handles the talent. So, I mean, is there anything you want to push on that end? And obviously you came here for this, but why not? There's some other people here maybe looking for your services.
I mean, I can't help you with a script, but you could send me your contact info and I'm casting something. To certainly keep that in mind. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a whole discussion about like strategy around casting and how it's not so straightforward, and it's all about leverage and approaching the right people in the right way and everything. So you can shine a lot of light there.
Okay. Again, just no agenda, but again, after we wrap up here, if you have time, Valerie, I have to run myself, but anybody in the audience, if you'd like to jump into the breakout area, it's very casual. Again,
Okay.
it's virtual world, but
I'm gonna
just chat it up.
I'm gonna cut out now too, but I get my emails out there, my phone's on, like not today, but feel free to contact me, anybody with anything other than a script. I'm sorry. I don't have time, but
okay. Well, thank you, Phil. Your information you put on the column. If you need to get Wonderphil online, you can contact NovaFest. We'll be a middleman for the moment. I'm happy to do so. So you've got to run. Thank you for.
I hope to see you at a market and
deal
it with you soon, bud.
Yeah. Okay, Mark. Yeah.
Take care, Phil.
Like you're doing good stuff, man.
Bye, Phil.
All right. See you, Valerie. See you, everybody.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
I can put his microphone here. Okay, Val, did you have anything further?
Yeah, the one movie that I wrote, well, it's in the thing. It's Space Between Men. The Space Between Men. It looks like it got financing.
Yay!
Yeah, yeah. So it's exciting.
I'm like Professor X and Xavier. I can feel the thoughts of everybody else in the room going, "Where did you get it? Where's that money? Is there any more? Can I be your friend?" Would you like to share that? I mean, is it a cool story that you'd like to share? Or you need to keep it kind of close to the vest.
Well,
did you embezzle something?
Yeah, no. It's just a debt fund financing, and you have to have so many things delivered. Like we're shooting in Serbia, it has tax credits. It has to have a.
Would you like to come on stage, Valerie? I'll bring you on stage, and so you're a big star that you are.
Oh no.
No. Okay, I'll keep you there. I almost brought you. I'll keep
no,
you
and just so right now we're at the point of attaching cast, and I mean he's already agreed to go to the bank and get us the money. So
put Louis in it. He already lives in Bulgaria.
I know. Oh, really?
Yeah. He lives in
wow.
Bulgaria.
Wow. Okay. Maybe because it's a it's a Holocaust based on Werner von Braun and a young.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah, it's Werner von Braun and a young his Jewish friend growing up in Berlin, and the war breaks out, and they have they shared a love of rocketry, and the war breaks out, and they go to college together, and the war breaks out, and they go their separate ways. And it was inspired by my uncle served in the Battle of the Bulge, and they used to call the V2s dirty bombs because they misfired, not knowing that 200 of those Jewish prisoners were sabotaging these bombs, and that's why they misfired, many of them. So I did the short, and then I ended up doing writing the feature. It took me like 2.5 years. Just really making sure, because it's historical, and then you're putting, the dramatic elements.
Sounds good. I'd be curious to know in what light you show Werner von Braun.
It's
hailed as like an American hero, but he was a Nazi.
Right. And it's very evident his ambition overrode his morality.
Right.
And
he basically cut a deal to save his skin.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And then he was the architect of the moonland, of the Apollo mission.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yep. So that's what the story. That's his story. That's what the story is. It's a relationship with these two men, and how two of these men cross paths as best friends, and then they end up at the labor camp together. One as a prisoner, and one as Werner von Braun, designing. Yeah. So that's what this. Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah. Put Louis in there. He already lives near Serbia.
I know. I will put him in. Absolutely.
Yeah, good.
So yeah, but the Dirty Bomb, the short was at Nova, and
Okay.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
You
For
know,
anyone
I'm
who
going to
doesn't know,
be,
my producing partner of like 12 years is an actor named Louis Mandalore. He's well, mostly a TV and action guy, but he's probably most famous from the Big Fat Greek Wedding movies, of which we're actually, well, I say we, I'm going to go visit, but he's shooting the third one in Greece in June. No, I'm sorry, July.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is Lainey still in the third
Yeah,
one?
everybody except obviously the dad who passed, and I believe the grandma passed as well. I don't know. I know the story. Obviously, I can't share it because
Right.
it's told, and I'd probably get in trouble for sharing it. But the story is wonderful.
and then quickly, Valerie, candidly, please forgive me. As you can imagine, I'm spread more than pretty thin. I did not connect your name with you until actually Mark brought it up earlier. He's like, "Oh, Valerie." It just, yeah. So
That's okay.
I mean, I just like, okay, it's a, you know, you're it's an accepted screenwriter, and you know we're gonna hook her up. Like, oh, you're an alumni. I mean, you came here. We had lunch at the taco
Yeah.
place and bar taco.
It was nice to be in person.
Yeah, right.
Very nice.
Yeah, broke some hearts.
Yeah, I
with
miss going out
Fernando.
there. It's fun out there.
It is fun.
Yeah, and sorry, I don't want to make this internal, but yeah, Eliza's been looking for you, Mark. She's like, you know,
Eliza's
just
been
looks
looking for me.
to have fun. Well, there I can name others, but we won't go into that here.
What are you implying? You make a lot of like
Not what-
veiled implications about me.
Well, you know, I'm gonna shut up right there. Bam, just like that. Valerie, is there anything else? Because I see Sabrina's back. Back
No,
up on
I'm
the stage.
good.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I mean,
Appreciate it.
yeah, again, if there's extending that because you alumni twice, if there's anything we can do on our end to promote or support what you're getting out there, more than happy to do so. And I'm sure, hopefully you know that already, but we want you. It's a cliche to say we're family and homes, but there is definitely a Nova community, and while I'm in charge, I absolutely want to support and promote success absolutely all the time, 1,000,000,000%. So just let me know. Let us know.
Fernando,
Great
just
to see you back.
FYI,
Yes,
I
sir.
got to bail in 20 minutes.
Okay, we'll
But
tell
I'm
you what.
happy to stick around until then.
Tell you what. Sabrina, if you're done, Valerie.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay.
It's good.
Okay.
Nice to see you, Valerie.
Nice to see you.
Well, depending on how many other questions there are and with how long Sabrina's inquiry may take, maybe we can use, if there's any time left over, so don't feel inhibited, Sabrina, just let it fly. We can jump
Yeah, I'm
over to the
available later. I
breakout.
just got to get on a call at noon.
Okay. Well, again, that's part of this whole virtual scenario. If Valerie, you and Mark want to set up a time at 3:30, 5 o'clock, 9 p.m., whatever. Or Valerie, where are you? Are you still in New York, or is that my memory
No,
serve?
I'm in LA.
Have you always been in LA?
Yes.
Okay. I totally thought you were East Coast. You have an East Coast vibe. You're like real. You're not that.
My mother. My
Ah,
mother's East Coast.
Fernando, just
Okay.
shut your mouth today.
yeah. I was trying to get a veiled shot at you somewhere, but it wasn't connecting. But okay. So point being, connect
You're like
emails
real.
or what do I and again, the space is open 24/7 for at least the next 4 days and maybe more now. So thank you, Valerie, for contributing, and hopefully
Yeah.
get something out of it.
Yeah, of course.
Sabrina, I see you up there.
Hi. So, Mark, you said earlier that you have some knowledge about the Asian or Eastern Asian market. I was just wondering do you know if there's any interest in like in the East, like in stories about Asians living in America, like especially young Asian Americans, and it wouldn't be a horror action. It would be more like a drama or comedy. Do you know if there's a market for that?
I mean, I think if you're going to make them, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would like to say yes, especially if you have an Asian cast. I think that's going to resonate. But Asia's kind of well, you got to compartmentalize it because China and Japan and Korea and Southeast Asia are all such vastly different markets. You know, China, it's tough to get anything into China right now from the United States because of the trade war. The CCP just won't pass American films through censorship. So that's a challenge there. Whereas like Japan is kind of in a rut right now because they still had a strong DVD market and that kind of got wiped out during the pandemic. So they're kind of playing it safe, doing a lot of the more like genre-y type of movies. Southeast Asia's pretty strong. Korea's pretty strong. Again, I'm just speculating and kind of just brain dumping, but like, yeah, I think like if there's an Asian cast and a story that resonates with other Asians, it would probably do some business. But that's not to say it would be specific to Asia either. It would probably have broader appeal than that.
Would name agent casting help?
I mean, names help regardless of the ethnic
As an
makeup.
influence.
Okay,
But
great.
I'll tell you right now, I mean, Hollywood's so over the top woke. It's, I mean, I can't tell you how much I get, especially with my TV stuff. It's like, cast more diverse, cast more diverse, cast more diverse. Like, even when your cast is entirely diverse, it still doesn't seem to be enough. It's crazy. And I'm all about, you know, the diversity, but like, I also feel very strongly that you cast who's gonna be the best person for the role, regardless of their ethnicity.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yep, no problem. Good luck with it. Sorry, I went off on kind of a tangent there.
I was going to think about reining in.
It's like a broken record lately, you know? And it's funny because, you know, I'm used to going to international markets. When I go to like Berlin and Cannes and whatever, I'd say 2/3 of the movies that comprise the markets are from Asia. So it's all Asian cast, you know? So, yeah, there's not as much as there probably should be coming out of North America, but there's a much smaller talent pool. And I was telling this story yesterday. I have this rom-com that I want to make that Michael J. White wrote, and he wants to direct, and it's him and Bobby Brown and Toni Braxton and like really cool, classy African-American cast. And it's the type of movie that would do amazing on television in the United States and probably make residual income for like decades. So I'm, you know, he brought it to me. We did this action movie and he brought me that, and we're considering financing it and producing it. And I was kind of deflated to find that there was very little interest in it outside the United States, because like the Europeans aren't necessarily watching things with a all black cast. You know, in Asia, they're not going to watch it. In Latin America, maybe, but like outside of Africa and North America, it's just, there's not a lot of interest in that movie, which is unfortunate. And I was kind of like surprised to learn that. But
really, I mean, why is his name escaping me? Who's the gentleman in Atlanta? Makes all the
Tyler Perry.
Tyler
Perry. Like, he's on the top 10 list, I believe, for you know, every top 10 domestic U.S. list, but he's nowhere internationally.
Yeah,
the
because
films he produces.
He made himself famous by going to all the different churches around the southern United States and doing one-man shows. Like, that's how he built his following. But like I said, this and I was down in Mexico doing pickups on our action movie with Michael Jai, and we were having dinner, and we're both kind of frustrated that this project hasn't been fast-tracked. And I had to say, I'm like, you know, I talked to my big buyer in Europe, who is the buyer for these types of movies in Europe, and they said no. They said they're not interested in the movie. Wow. And he's like, but I'm huge in Europe. I said, yeah, you're huge in an action movie. So, but in a rom-com, they literally said to me that they are not interested in buying movies with an all-black cast. And, you know, him and I were both kind of baffled by it, but at the same time, like, I get it. Like, you know, we're not watching all Asian rom-coms traditionally, but they are in Asia, you know. In Europe, they're watching the more traditional stuff. It's like we're a very diverse culture. Most of the parts of the world are much more homogenous. So like they're just inherently watching stuff that resonates with them. You know what I mean?
Actually, yeah, I actually touched
The
on that
world is
earlier
not
this week.
colorblind and woke like we are. But for us producers trying to make something that's going to have as big of an international appeal as possible, we're trying to hit every target.
Great.
It's interesting doing foreign sales. I actually learned more about like foreign culture and economies and politics than you'd ever learn from the media or the internet. Because I'm talking to people directly in over 100 countries, and like I know what's happening with their economies. I know what's happening with their politics. Like all the shit that we hear in our media, I hear the real deal from people on the ground, and it's nothing like we're being told. You know, not to go down that rabbit hole, but like when you actually talk to people who are living in the Ukraine and living in China and living in Australia and hearing firsthand from them what's actually happening, both, you know, culturally, politically, economically, socially, in terms of entertainment, it's pretty fascinating.
Believe it. Dan, I see you've come back up. We've got just a little over 10 minutes left. Marc's got a hard out at 2, so.
Yeah, just a quick question, Marc, or Fernando as well, or Valerie. Or Valerie, you weren't on yesterday. I'm trying to get a independent Western off the ground. I'm wondering from this aspect of longevity and rising above the white noise, ideal, who sells a Western in your mind? You got any of you guys?
Who sells
cool.
the Western? Are you asking for like what distributors would be
Yeah,
interested in it?
the best actor. I mean, you know, the actor that would sell it. I mean, Danny Trejo.
It's an impossible question to ask without knowing the script and the characters. Or I'm sorry, an impossible question to answer.
Okay. Well, I don't want to. I'm not
like let me put it this way: if you did a breakdown of your top 3 or 4 characters and put 10 names on that list of who would be appropriate for those characters, I could point to the names that make the most sense and might be the right combination of gettable and bankable.
Okay.
But for you to be like, you know, who's the best person for me to cast?
Right. No, it's fair, Marc. I'm trying to get. I don't know how to get there. I don't want to take up everybody's time with that now, I guess, but I can definitely do that in a minute and a half or so, or in a pitch.
Yeah, I gotcha. I mean, yeah, you're welcome to follow up with me.
Thank you.
It's too broad of a question for a project.
Yeah, it's fair, and I know you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that people understand, because again, on this side of the fence, and everybody wants to be supportive, and oh, you have a great film for this, I have a great idea for that. I find it refreshing. I actually do appreciate at least this one aspect of Marc. He's straightforward. He'll go straight to the gut.
Or how about this, Bradley Cooper?
We talked about my budget last.
All right, what else we got?
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks for the question, Dan. Yeah, well, I don't want to force it. If there are no other discussion questions, I don't know if it's worth your time to jump in the lounge breakout area for like 7 minutes.
Is that any different than being right here?
No, but I didn't get to go there like you guys did yesterday, and it looked cool, and there were like champagne bottles.
It was a wonderful view.
Yeah, and I got, you know, I don't know why I hate giving accolades to you, but yeah, you have a cigar, and you're outside, and you just.
I gotta get on a call with the head of production for my distributor to listen to him tell me that I need to make more cuts to my movie before I deliver it. But when I'm done with that, I can chat again with whoever.
Okay, so please contact Marc out. Is that Cora or Spacey? You have a quick question for him, Marc or I, before you go, or even Valerie, before we cut out?
Yeah, I got 10 minutes to kill.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a quickish question. Camera working. Yay. So we have a couple of different projects that we're working on right now. And I know you said, like, don't use a TV star. If we have, I'm just going to rapid fire a couple different questions. One is, if we have a sort of action drama about two women trying to get back a relic that was stolen from them during the Holocaust, and it flashes back to their moms in war-torn Poland, and then them in modern day in New York City.
Is this more of an action or more of a drama?
It culminates in some kind of messy like fight scenes, but it's definitely more of a drama.
It's more of a drama. Okay.
If we have a like multi-Emmy winning, fairly large TV person, is that someone worth, like, they're interested in reading it, we're just finishing the script so that they can say if they want the part or not?
That person, the thing I talk about with TV is like, you just got to be careful of it, because again, just because somebody's on a popular show here doesn't mean that show has been released or has done anything or been successful overseas. So that's just something you need to be conscious of when casting TV talent. All TV actors want to be in movies, and now all movie actors want to be on TV. So, but what distributors, what buyers look at is box office track record. They're very formulaic when it comes to that. Okay. So if somebody's like I'll tell you, like I did a project with Ron Perlman. Ron Perlman for television is great because of Sons of Anarchy and whatever. He doesn't mean shit to a movie. I mean, not to say he doesn't mean shit, but like I can't build a movie around Ron Perlman.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's a great supporting actor. He's great in a Guillermo del Toro movie, but like I can't build a movie around Ron Perlman, even though like he was a huge TV star.
Makes sense.
But he still gets the kind of money that a big star would demand. So it's like one of those things of like, are you willing to spend the money for somebody who's not going to really drive the value? And that's where working with sales agents is really going to help you, is they can give you a much more calculated idea of the value versus the cost. Because, and I said this yesterday, there's a massive discrepancy between what an actor's real value is and the salary they demand, or the value that they perceive for themselves or their reps perceive. I get a couple like agents and managers that I have good relationships with. They've asked me, they're like, what's this one of my client, like, what's his real value in the market? And they're always shocked when I tell them the truth.
Right. No, that makes sense. And then jumping to a different film, we have a Christmas movie that, you know, it checks enough of the formulaic boxes to be true Christmas genre, but it focuses more on family and less on just the romance side. If we had someone who's like a huge country music star, and this is a Christmas movie that takes place in pretty much Texas and Nashville, if there was like one or two fairly giant country music stars in it.
I actually got a movie that's been trending like crazy on Tubi called Running From My Roots. It's a faith-based movie, but set in the like country music world. And it seems like a lot of people are watching it.
Okay.
Could be good. So I'm going to share something with you related to Christmas, because Christmas movies were like, all the rage for a while. Christmas movies have become so oversaturated in Europe. And also think about a Christmas movie. There's a lot of parts of the world that aren't Christian who are never going to buy it. So Europe is very important to a Christmas movie. Right now, Christmas movies are dead in Europe. And the reason is TF1, which is the big network in France, they have over 100 Christmas movies sitting in their vault yet to be released. They're still very popular in the US. So my suggestion, before you throw the project away, don't do that. Make the project is,
no offense.
For North America, you can absolutely position it like a Christmas movie. But for international, position it like a family movie that happens to be set at Christmas, but don't make it a specifically Christmas movie. Like having Christmas in the title, for example, that can actually work against you in Europe, versus in North America, that'll work for you.
Can you release a film under one title on two different titles when it's one film?
Yeah. I mean, distributors change titles all the time.
I mean, like have it released in America as.
Well, I'm just saying maybe come up with a title that doesn't necessarily revolve around Christmas. Because again, there's plenty, and maybe bad example, I'm just thinking, but like, Die Hard and Scrooged, and like these are all movies that are set during Christmas, but it's not like Christmas Vacation. You know what I mean?
I'm just kidding.
So I'm just saying maybe it's like on the surface, not specifically around Christmas, even though it's set in Christmas. In the US, they'll make it all about Christmas. But in Europe, if you have a movie called like, Virginia Christmas, like that's automatically, that could be problematic because it became such an oversaturated market.
Right. It could just be about whatever.
My big TV movie buyer in Europe literally is like, no more Christmas movies.
Yeah, this is literally, it's one of those, it's a Die Hard Christmas in that it's a movie that happens to take place at Christmas time, but it's not. About,
no, that's going to work in your favor.
And then, okay, awesome. And then,
Mark, you got under a minute, just so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm flexible for a couple minutes, but that's fine.
I'm glad. I'm glad you said what you said about marketing, because that, like, I've been working in and around film for a while, but before that, I was on like a business marketing track in life, and I'm always surprised when people are like, "Oh, we're going by the trends, or we're going by the this," because the whole point of marketing is to make people want what you're selling, not to sell what people already want, although that's an option too. Right. So I was glad to hear you say that you can just shift the marketing for Europe and shift the marketing for the United States, because that to me is what you would do with the marketing budget at the end.
And distributors do it all the time. They'll literally make a movie look like something it's not, which now I'm savvy to that. So I'm very careful about like how I work my deals with my distributors, because I don't want them to turn it into something that it's not. But like I give the example all the time. I directed this low budget action thriller with Danny Trejo a while back, and it was called Darkness Descends. And everywhere in the world it's called Darkness Descends, but in the US it's called 20 Feet Below, because it's the number 20. And I remember it came out right around the time of 12 Years a Slave, and that thing went on Redbox and Netflix and Prime and everywhere, and it was right next to 12 Years a Slave everywhere.
Nice.
And like we hated it, and they made the key art look like something it's not. They made it look like a schlocky horror film, which it's not. They put an axe in his hand. He doesn't have an axe in the movie, but on the cover of their stupid key art, he's got an axe in his hand. They actually tried to put a machete in his hand, and his agent 8-6'd it. But like distributors are grossly, belligerently like exploitative that way. Whereas like the 20 Feet Below, or I'm sorry, the Darkness Descends key art that the British distributor made, and that was used all over the rest of the world, that was way more true to what the movie actually was, and it looked way better. And to drive the point home even more, I wish I had a side-by-side. You can Google it and see. Look at the two key arts side by side. The 20 Feet Below key art that looked like a schlocky horror film, Trejo loved the movie. He was always like promoting it and talking about it. But he posted that 20 Feet Below with the fire and the axe sand and whatever, and it got like 4,000 likes on Facebook in the first 24 hours. The other one, the Darkness Descends one that the UK did, that was much more true to the movie and made it look just like a better movie, he posted that one and it got over 35,000 likes in 24 hours. So same movie, different key art. So that's the power and importance of marketing materials.
No, that makes total sense to me. I mean, I was at Sundance when, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Mignons, the French film, premiered, also known as Cuties, also known as Greatest Disasters, and that director hadn't even seen the art, and she woke up to death threats when those posters dropped. Like, it was a whole thing. So no, I definitely know that distributors will do whatever they want.
They're pretty gross about it. We always joke that like you literally can make like a family comedy, like a kids drama, or like a kids. You could make The Sandlot, and the Japanese distributors will put helicopters and explosions and guns and bullets on the key art. Like, we joke about that all the time because that's just how they roll.
That is crazy. Well, it is good to have that, because we're definitely I happen to really like the Christmas movie. I think it's a great family drama, really. It just happens to be where it culminates at Christmas time, and the writer on it is focused.
U.S. distributors will want it to be a Christmas movie. I'm just making a point of like in Europe, Christmas is like they're literally sitting on 100. They got enough Christmas movies to last them the rest of the decade.
I mean, I'm Jewish, so I have nothing on it. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm Jewish too. Let's make a Hanukkah movie. I gotta jump off, but if somebody, Fernando, feel free to share my Gmail if anybody wants to reach out and talk later. I'm around.
I'll give him your home address. No problem.
That's fine. Whatever.
Thanks, Marc.
Thanks, Marc.
Already convinced everybody that I'm a womanizing, pot smoking, not real person from the West Coast. So,
we'll see how successful I actually am. It's all in the subtlety. It's all in the subtlety. Break a leg with your meeting later, and yeah, feel free that I'd rather be here than where you're going. Just kill it like you always do, man.
All right.
And again, thank you so much. And we'll talk later post festival and market. All right,
Bye, Marc.
Bye.
Bye.